Okay, so welcome to today's webinar, and my name is Victoria Schuler. My co-host is Amanda Williams. We are from Canadian Agricultural Human Resource Council, and this is the first webinar of our webinar series on temporary foreign worker program. And I'm going to my slides working. I hope everyone can see my screen as well. And as you already may know, CARC is a national nonprofit organization that is focused on addressing human resource issues facing agricultural businesses in Canada. And we provide a variety of tools and resources for employers to deal with different workforce challenges in agriculture nowadays. Part of this webinar series is part of so-called Quality Agri Workforce Management Program, or QAMP. We use a lot of abbreviation here at CARC. And initially, this program was led by CARC in 2019. And now we are revising and updating materials, tools, and resources for employers to make it easier to navigate temporary foreign worker program, hire and manage temporary foreign workers. And the webinar will be just a basic so-called 101 on temporary foreign workers. So it will be useful for those that do not know how to use the program, have never used the program before, are just thinking about hiring temporary foreign workers, or maybe you have hired temporary foreign workers in the past, but you used a third-party representative, immigration consultant, or a lawyer, and you would like to learn more about it yourself and maybe even submit your LMI application yourself in the future as well. So it is very basic. If you are interested in more information and more resources, you're welcome to join other webinars. There will be 5 webinars in total. The webinars will be held every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. The duration is about 45 minutes plus Q&A. The next webinar will be on LMIA application, where we invited an immigration consultant as well to talk about the paperwork and the document and process and everything that employers need to do to prepare and submit a successful LMIA application. Webinar number 3 will be conducted together with Service Canada, and it will be a demo and the navigation of LMIA online and job bank portal. Webinar number 4 will be also conducted with Employment and Social Development Canada, and it's about employer compliance inspection. And webinar number 5, it will be just a wrap-up Q&A session if there are any questions about any previous webinars. And we also provide an overview of CARC products and services that can support employers in hiring temporary foreign workers. And this is just a slide about myself. You might be wondering about my accent already. So I was born in Ukraine, and I relocated to Canada over 8 years ago. I have over 10 years experience in human resources, recruitment, global mobility, and immigration. I'm based in Saskatchewan. And I'm also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. So I have my license since 2018, and I did submit numerous applications for agricultural stream or agricultural workers in other streams. So I will be able to talk based on my experience. And I joined CARC Agri-Skills team in January this year, and I'm happy to be able to deliver this webinar and help employers to navigate the program. So to start with, and for me to understand, because temporary foreign workers, LMI applications, it's a topic you can talk for hours. And a lot of time, the devil is in detail. So those little detail that kind of makes the difference, makes your LMIA successful, helps you to pass the employer compliance inspection. So to start, if you just answer in chat or Q&A whether you have used temporary foreign workers in the past? And what is your main challenge when it is coming to hiring temporary foreign workers? So you're welcome to answer those questions if you'd like to. We'll give 2 minutes, and after I will continue. Okay. No questions for now, but we'll give 1 more minute. Oh, okay. So there is an answer from Marion, never hired, but looking into it to see if it's feasible. Our company has hired many temporary foreign workers. I complete the process myself. Great. Biggest challenge is getting health cards right away. Yes, depending on the province, I guess. And haven't used it in the past and just starting the process. That's great. So I hope we will be able to help you. Yes, we hired for many years SOAP and temporary foreign workers. I will be talking about different streams, SOAP including. There is a lot of difference between all of them. Yes, the biggest challenge is language barrier and accommodation. Yes, I can relate to that as well. Okay, so it's great to know that you're thinking about using temporary foreign worker program. Again, I would like to mention that like you use temporary foreign worker program when Canadians or permanent residents are not available. And we are going to cover a lot, and we are going to cover just the basics about the streams, where to start, and how to navigate the program. You are open to answer questions in chat, and once I see the questions or if I miss anything, Amanda will be helping me as well. So where to start? That's where we start usually, like when we are starting to navigate a temporary foreign worker program, and we get to the government website. And like, as you see, it is pretty overwhelming sometimes, but I would say that once you get into it, once you do it for the first time and figure out the details, it will be much easier. So usually, most of the time, employers that are hiring in agriculture would go into hiring into primary agriculture positions. And when you click there, you will see different streams, different terms of the programs, conditions, wages, accommodation, etc. Before we get into that, if you used the program in the past, or if you're already thinking about it, this is something to keep in mind because the program keeps changing. There are news announcements, there are updates. So this is just the recent updates that may affect you. The first one, the most recent one, October 26th. There is a requirement starting from January 2024 to annually review temporary foreign workers' wages to make sure that it increases together with the prevailing wage rate in their occupation in their region. So which means if you're hiring, it wouldn't so much applicable to seasonal agricultural worker program, but say if you're hiring a farm supervisor or a cattle herdsman and your LMIA is valid for 3 years, there is a wage increase every year. Usually it happens sometime in May or April when it's posted, and you need to make sure that you at least update the wage with the prevailing wage. Another thing, everyone heard about it. It's a bit of underwhelming news right now, and that's about the recognized employer pilot that was announced in August. Agricultural occupations are accepted in phase 1. I know that a lot of employers are just waiting and see what happens, like are concerned about additional checks or audits from Employment and Social Development Canada. So there will be more briefings on that, and I would just say stay tuned. The other thing, this is kind of old news. It was last year, but it has been extended until June 30th, 2024. If you're hiring an agricultural worker in the primary agriculture, you don't need to advertise, which is great news. It saves you time, it saves you process. At the same time, employers still need to continue to hire Canadians and permanent residents. So depending on your area, it's always good to have some advertisement going, or at least if there is a question from Service Canada, are you trying to hire Canadians? You need to be able to answer, what have you done to try to hire Canadians and permanent residents? Also old news, but April 2023, LMIA is transitioned to LMIA Online, and this is great. Some glitches are expected, like files cannot be uploaded and so on, but Service Canada, they keep on working on improving the program. We will have representatives from LMIA Online portal on one of the webinars, and I think it's a great tool. Especially, this is the great tool when it comes to your next application, because if you're doing an application for the next year, you just need to copy it and paste for your next year. Like, there will be some minor changes, but you don't need to do like start a new application and fill in and complete. So that's very helpful. And also the NOC system transitioned to NOC 2021. And I know that some people are still using old NOCs, but yes, we are transitioning to the new ones. This is just a quick glance of LMIA process roadmap. So the first, like if you don't know where to start or how to start, you need to determine your stream and whether you're actually eligible to submit an LMIA application. And in order to do that, you need to figure out whether your position is related to primary agriculture or not. We're going to talk about it. You need to figure out the NOC, or the National Occupational Code, for the position, the wage that you will be required to pay, and what are the requirements for working conditions and accommodations for your particular stream. Step number 2 will be preparing an application. It might be a bit of overwhelming process when you start with, as you need to prove your business legitimacy. So basically, you need to prove that the business has been operating, has been making enough profit to be able to hire or afford to hire extra workers. In certain provinces, such as Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and BC, you as an employer is required to do a provincial registration. Depending on the stream, you're required to do recruitment and advertising, housing inspection, and submit your application. Number 3 is assessment by Service Canada. Once your application gets into the assessment process, they assess you on the number of criteria. From what is happening right now, surprisingly, because Service Canada, they are streamlining their process, they're trying to make it fast. A lot of applications that have been submitted that are complete and full don't even require an interview with a Service Canada officer. Sometimes it's just a couple of follow-up questions. And this is the last one, but it's also an important one. The positive LMIA is a good first step, or is a good thing in the process, but you need to think about employer compliance, because if you hire temporary foreign worker, like the government has the right to audit you for the next 6 years. So you need to keep records for 6 years. You need to inform ESDC about any modifications or any changes. And there is a lot of paperwork that needs to be organized in a certain way. So if there is an audit or employer compliance inspection, you would be able to easily provide required information. We are going to talk about that in one of our next webinars as well. Definition of primary agriculture. So basically, primary agriculture is the work that are performed within the boundaries of the farm, nursery, or greenhouse. And it involves activities such as operating of agricultural machinery and taking care of animals, planting care, harvesting, or preparing crops. And there are certain NOCs that are applicable to primary agriculture. For example, CARC also works with landscape and nurseries, and I will provide examples from that industry that are quite interesting. Some of them are not applicable, which means employers need to use regular streams. What is not included in the primary agriculture? Again, retail nurseries such as garden center. So everything that is off the farm is not considered a primary agriculture. And also activities of agronomist, agricultural economist, landscape architecture, or veterinary services are not considered primary agriculture. The next step after that will be to see if the NOCs that you're hiring are eligible. NOCs stand for National Occupational Classification Code. And basically what it means in Canada, every position or every occupation and the job duties and require education or qualifications or certification required to perform a certain job needs to fit in a certain box. So those little boxes are NOC codes. And as I mentioned, the NOC system has changed, and now they call it like tier system. And these are the occupations that are eligible for the primary agriculture. So there are minor groups and there are examples of titles. So you can take a look at it, and yes, we will be able to send you, the presentation will be available. More on the NOC codes is like, again, if you're not sure like about the NOC code and like you need kind of a refresh or understanding this, you would like to understand the system a little bit better. So again, the NOC code, the first digit of the NOC code, for example, like 8055. So the first digit is the broad occupational category. So for natural resources, agriculture, it's always 8. The second digit is so-called tier category, and tier is an abbreviation for training, education, experience, and responsibilities required to do the work. And tier category is defined by the type of duties, the type of training and education required. So this is just like, for example, if we are hiring just a seasonal worker to like harvest, it will be tier 5 because like no additional training, no certification is required. If you're hiring, say, a livestock worker, like, or herdsman, where like certain experience or like several like on-the-job training is required, it will be tier 4. If you would like, the other thing as well, when you're talking about the NOC and when the NOC is assessed by Service Canada, they are not looking at the job title. Job title is secondary. The most important is the list of job duties, and the list of job duties should be consistent with the NOC. How to find your NOC? You can go to the government website and just enter the job title, and you will be able to see the list of job duties, the requirements, and so on. So this is just a good tool to help and to be able for you to find out what NOC, what occupation you would like to hire for. The other thing to consider is how much are you prepared to pay to a temporary foreign worker? Depending on the position, for primary agriculture, there are wages. There are like tables with wages that are updated on an annual basis as well. If it's not primary agriculture, we need to look at the median hourly wage. The median hourly wage is being updated every year. Like the last update was in May, so we expect the next update in spring next year. And if you're hiring below the median wage, then you're hiring for so-called low wage stream. If it's above, it's so-called high wage stream. So these are the wages in the province. And the wages are just, it's just got statistically pulled from Job Bank. And that's when I started talking about the streams. So basically, for agricultural or non-primary agricultural positions, there are 4 streams how a temporary foreign worker can be hired. First is SOAP, which is Seasonal Agricultural Worker Program. It is for primary agriculture only, and you can hire workers from Mexico or Caribbean countries for 8 months of employment. I will explain more in detail about each stream and comparison of those streams. The other stream is so-called ag stream or agricultural stream. Also, it is primary agriculture position. The worker could be from any country, employment could be up to 24 months. If you would like to hire seasonal, 6 or 8 months, it is possible as well. Your LMIA will be just for a seasonal position with the duration of 8 months. And there is high wage or low wage. For the low wage, you can hire in any occupation if it's not primary agriculture from any country up to years of employment. If it's not a primary agriculture, there is a processing fee that needs to be paid for Service Canada, and it's $1,000 per position. And this is a non-refundable fee that is paid when the LMIA application is submitted. And for low wage position, there is also a so-called 20% cap on how many foreign workers employer can hire. On a high wage stream, it could be again any occupation, any country, up to 3 years of employment, which will be changing to 2, 1,000 processing fee, and you need to have so-called transition plan, which means what activities employer will need to do to try to hire Canadians. If you're hiring for this stream and there is like another stream to support permanent residency, the transition plan is not required. If you have any more questions about it, I can talk about it more. And this is just a flow chart that hopefully will help you to determine your stream. So first, we need to figure out if the position is in the primary agriculture or not. If the production is included in so-called national commodity list, there is this information that is available on the website as well. Like one thing that is known, but not everyone knows, like I'm based in Saskatchewan, so it affected a lot of farmers over here. For example, small grains and oil seeds have been added to the national commodity list about 2-3 years ago. So now it means like they can hire in agricultural stream, and they can also hire workers from Mexican or Caribbean countries. So is the production included in the national commodity list? Yes or no? If yes, are you hiring a worker from Mexico or Caribbean as a seasonal worker? If yes, you need to use seasonal agricultural worker program. If no, it's ag stream, and whether the wage is at or above the provincial, it's either high wage or low wage.
So Victoria, we also
Yes.
have a question in the chat from Stacy.
Yeah. Does the high wage stream have a cap on high 20% and the low wage stream, and also high wage stream? High wage stream doesn't have a cap, but it has so-called transition plan. So basically, you can hire as many as you want, but you need to provide activities, and there is like a certain requirement what kind of activities. I know that a lot of employers, especially those that are using consultants, basically sometimes you put in the application anything that you can think of or anything that consultant recommends and you're approved. But when time comes for your next LMI application, what the government does, they go back to your initial application and they ask you, what kind of activities have you done? And you need to be able to provide reasonable proofs that you have done that. For example, trying to hire students, participating in the job experts, advertising in like newspapers or social media. So you need to provide the proofs of that. I hope I answered that question. And this is, I like the examples from landscape and nursery industry. So just as an example, how to determine the stream. There is a company that is called Greengrass Residential Landscape Maintenance, and they're based in Alberta. They would like to hire a landscape laborer. The wage is $23 per hour. And so is the position in primary agriculture? Yes or no? No, because this is a residential landscape maintenance, so it will be not on the farm. We have these options now. Is the wage offered at or above the provincial or territorial median hourly wage? We remember that wage, so it's 23, so it's not. And here it is, we have to hire in low wage, and that's where this 20% cap comes and $1,000 processing fee. This is another example. There is a George Tree Nursery in Milton, and they would like to hire a seasonal laborer. because like they couldn't find anyone. They're paying $18.50 per hour. And this is the job on the nursery. So it is a primary agriculture. They're doing like trees. It is included in the national commodity list. And they would like to hire someone from Mexico or Caribbean because their neighbor has Mexicans and they seem to be quite happy. So they will go with seasonal agricultural worker program. And this is the next 3 slides will be just an overview and comparison of 3 streams. Very general, very generic, but if you have any questions about the details, feel free asking. So first, who can apply? Which employers can apply? For seasonal agricultural worker program and ag stream, it must be only primary agriculture, and the production must be included in the national commodity list. And it has to be a certain ag positions with a certain NOC codes that we covered. For the low wage, the production does not need to be included in the national commodity list, and it could be other occupations. I don't talk much about high wage because from our experience, not a lot of employers are hiring in the high wage, but if there are questions about it, I will be able to answer. With SOP, what countries can participate? So there is Mexican and participating Caribbean countries, to which Canada has a bilateral agreement. For ag stream low wage, it could be a worker from any country. The other one that is interesting is excuse me, who is responsible to recruit the workers? So for SOP, it's the government of the source countries that are responsible to recruit the workers. So basically, if you are not hiring someone that you hired in the past or someone who was referred to you, you provide your criteria, and the Mexican Employment Center send you the worker. Sometimes you don't even know who it is. You don't have an opportunity to interview. They will just send you whom they think will fit your criteria. If it's ag stream or if it's a low wage stream, you as an employer is responsible for recruiting and selecting the workers, and it's up to you how you're going to do it. Whether you're going to just to post the job online, whether you're going to partner with a recruitment agency, or whether you have a referral, it's up to you whether you want to do an interview or reference check. I would recommend yes, but it's totally under the employer's responsibility. How long is the employment? For SOP, it's maximum 8 months. For ag stream and low wage is 24 months. For high wage, there is a possibility to do 36 months, but it looks like it's no longer be valid anymore. The advertising requirements for primary agriculture, which is SOP and ag stream, they've been suspended. So it's very easy. You don't need to advertise. You don't need to provide any proof. It's good to be able to answer the questions. What have you done to try to hire? But nothing is required to be submitted with the application. For low wage, it gets a bit more complicated. You have to advertise minimum for 4 weeks within the last 3 months. And you have to include 3 different activities. 1 should be National Job Bank, and 2 must be underrepresented groups. So it's a bit more complicated. We will cover advertising in our next webinar. The wage rates for SOP and ag stream, the wage are determined annually by Service Canada for each commodity group. This information can be found on the government website. For example, it's like $16.55 for fruit and vegetables pickers in Ontario. And for low wage, they must be the median wage on the job bank for the current occupation in the current economic region, or it should be within the same range as you're paying to your employees in the same occupation with the same amount of experience and training. Accommodation requirements. SOP and ag stream. So there is a requirements for accommodation in all 3. For SOP, accommodation must be provided at no cost except BC, and you should have a housing inspection report within 8 months prior to submitting your LMI application. For ag stream, also housing inspection report must be provided within 8 months, and this is if you are providing accommodation on site, you're allowed to charge only $30 per week for accommodation for low skilled and on site. If it's off site, it's $30 for low skilled and up to 30% of monthly gross income for high skilled. And this 30% must include not only rent, but the cost of utilities as well. And for low wage, it's just employers need to make sure that accommodation is available. Who pays for the flights? Round trip transportation paid for all the streams. Some cost can be recovered except BC for seasonal agricultural work program, and extreme low wage, it's employer's responsibility to pay for the two-way flight. The processing cost, primary agricultures are exempt for processing fees. I find the agriculture has a lot of exemption. And for non-primary agriculture, low wage, there is non-refundable $1,000 application fee. And how long does it take to get an LMIA? I checked their website last night, just when I was finalizing my presentation. So SOAP is 8 business days, Extreme 11 business days, which is pretty good. Low wage, non-primary 49. So it's quite lengthy, so plan ahead. The other thing I wanted to add about planning, if you're thinking about it now and you know the country that you would like to hire from, my recommendation to check whether the nationals of those countries require an entry visa to Canada and a work permit. And if it does, what is the current processing time as well? Because it will add time, especially if you're hiring workers for a season. As I mentioned, in some provinces, the provincial registration is required before hiring temporary foreign workers, which is British Columbia, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. Information can be found on the provincial websites. British Columbia, it's a temporary foreign worker protection unit. Processing takes approximately 12 weeks, which is like very long, quite long. They say it takes about 15 minutes to register, no application fee, and the registration is issued for up to 3 years. Manitoba, the registration is done with the Manitoba employment standards. Processing is about 2 to 4 weeks. The application is completed on paper in PDF and emailed or faxed to them. There is no application fee, and the registration is valid for 1 year. If you're hiring in Manitoba, you also need to disclose the recruiter that you're working with. And in Saskatchewan, the application is processed approximately within 10 days. No application fee. Registration is valid for 2 years. In most cases for the provincial registration, you just need to prove that you operate legitimate and registered business in your province, and you comply with all the provincial legislation and standards. So with the temporary foreign worker program, if you're thinking and like you received some information, so where to start, just to summarize. Step 1, determine your stream, NOC, and wage. Step 2, if you need to conduct recruitment and advertisement activities. We're going to talk about it in the next webinar, but sometimes employers would say, oh, I had an ad in the newspaper for the last 2 months, nobody applied, I'm just going to submit it with the application. You need to check the advertisement requirements, and there is a certain list, and there are certain things that need to be included in the advertisement. For example, the work location. Are you providing any health benefits? The wage, if it's a wage range, it's another thing. What are the requirements towards like education, training, the job duties? So the advertisement should be quite lengthy to meet the criteria for Service Canada. And step 3, prepare and submit an application. You would need to prove your business legitimacy with the application, and in certain applications, you would require to do housing inspection. I would also recommend to do housing inspection somewhere in the beginning, because depending on the province, it takes time to book the housing inspector to take a look at the accommodation and so on. So if you don't want to waste any more time, you can do it simultaneously while you're doing your advertising. And this is just key takeaways. So temporary foreign worker program can be confusing and overwhelming. It gets easier once you submitted your first application and done it right. I've been doing LMIA since 2018, and I noticed that there is a shift with Service Canada. In the past, they were looking for a reason to refuse, and it took like months to get an answer. Now the processing times are fast and efficient. They have offices that are more or less trained or familiar with the agricultural industry and with the agricultural applications, and they are willing to give you an opportunity to provide more information, to provide correct answers, or do some amendments or changes in the application if it's reasonable. So I would say it is much easier to do it now than it was like 5-8 years ago. Also, the other thing you can consider whether you want to do it by yourself or you would like to hire a third-party representative, which is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant or a lawyer. Everyone does what is best for themselves. I would suggest that again, like if you do it yourself for the first time, second time will be much easier. At the same time, like people just sometimes don't want to waste time for that, don't want to get into the details, so they hire a third-party representative. My recommendation would be like read and go through your application, ask the questions before you submit it, because it's you who, as an employer, will be subject to the employer compliance reviews and inspections. So you need to make sure that it's all relevant and you will be able to provide, or if you're hiring in a high wage, that you can fulfill the transition plan that is mentioned in the application. And again, like lawyers and consultants, they charge a fee depending on the stream in the industry. I would say it's between $2,000 to $2,000 to $4,500, depending on the stream and depending on the lawyer as well. LMA online portal is quite user-friendly, easy to navigate. There are some glitches. For example, sometimes you can't complete the application or document, and it's just because there is a certain requirement on the how much the space the document can take. And what I also like about online portal, if you're not sure about your stream, you can actually pick not sure, and it will ask you the questions to clue you and to help you to determine your stream, which is quite helpful. Again, if you have any questions, I always recommend to call Employer Contact Center with Service Canada. They answer within 10 minutes, even less, and they will be able to help you to navigate the website or like answer some particular questions. Also, a lot of employers, when they're still like thinking about hiring, they ask the questions whether are we committing to hiring this worker? What if things do not work out, personality wise, or the worker doesn't have the skills, like is not fit to our farm, like can employment be terminated? So the answer is that employers are getting a specific workers are getting employer-specific work permits. So your name as an employer is stated in the work permit, and this is the only employer that the worker is entitled to work in Canada. The employment can be changed and can be terminated. If employment is terminated, you do the same as you do with any Canadians or permanent residents. Just follow your provincial legislation, like provide enough notice, like 2 weeks notice, or like whatever notice is stated in the employment contract. But at the same time, you will be responsible to return airfare for the worker. For like the streams we are talking about, for the high wage, you're not. And what happens sometimes, like the worker would find another employer. So in this case, I would recommend, in this case, another employer like is taking over the responsibility to pay for the return flight. But I would recommend to have like a letter of consent from the worker stating that he understands he's moving to another employer. So like he's releasing you from the obligation to pay for the return flight. And this is just in case you have a employer compliance inspection and this question is asked. And employer compliance, yes, that's important. Employers are being audited. a lot of time is just like those little things that employers cannot provide or didn't know that they have to keep, like timesheets, time records, or for example, there is a uniform and you deduct the cost of the uniform. Just have like an authorization from the foreign worker to deduct it, again, depending on the stream. And you need to keep all your records for 6 years. From the first day of employment, and if there are any significant changes, you need to inform Service Canada about that. So this is main takeaways. I hope it helped you, and I hope I answered your questions. That's the end of this presentation. This is my contact information. You're also welcome to visit our website, and on the bottom there is a possibility to subscribe to news if you would like to do that. I'm open to take any more questions, and again, thank you for attending the webinar. Thank you for the registration. I know that our registration is a bit complicated, and the reason is when we are reporting to Employment and Social Development Canada, we need to report on certain demographics. So that's why we are collecting those questions, and thank you for taking your time answering those. It helps us with our reports and possible future funding as well. So if you have any questions, let me know, like put them in the chat or in Q&A, and I hope we will be able to help you.